ToonGrin.com.
There's a butcher in this town preying on poor women, and the Gotham police stand twiddling their thumbs.
Your evening attire, sir.
That was not the suit I need, Alfred.
Hello and welcome to Watchin' Stuff, the show about watching stuff. I'm NERO and with me is my Canadian counterpart WHYBOY, and today we're taking a look at the first animated DC film of the year, because I believe there's two more. I think is it? No, Suicide Squad's getting one.
Yep.
And I think they're going to rehash the death of Superman for the umpteenth time, because for some reason the only Superman story apparently everybody likes to hear is the story of how Hope gets viciously beaten to death by a monster in little green UPS shorts.
Yeah, basically, and you're playing for like near reviews and such to review all the DC animated movies, right?
I would like to sit down and from Superman Doomsday all the way up to the current string of films, I would like to go through each and every one of them. Because there is a decline.
Yeah. There's a range.
There's a range, yeah. Like a gun range. But there's a range. This one, Gotham by Gaslight, is, and I'm sure I told you this while we were watching it. It's based off of a one-shot novel. At DC, they had a line of books called Elseworld Stories. Elseworld Stories are books that are taken out of continuity. They're not part of the mainstream storytelling medium. It's usually a pitch for an idea that is it's sort of a what if, which is funny because Marvel's Elseworlds are actually called What If. Like, what if the Hulk landed on this planet he was supposed to? And then they did a really cool story where, like, Hulk lands on this planet and he becomes, like, a legendary figure. He becomes, like, Paul Bunyan to this alien race.
Okay.
And in this case, DC's got Elseworlds. Like, this story, what if, like, Kal-El landed in Gotham and was raised by the Waynes? Most of them, by the way, are Batman stories. Like, a good majority of them, I think, are Batman books where it's like, what if Batman fought Dracula? What if Batman was a vampire?
Oh, God.
And this one, Gotham, it's, people like doing stuff with Batman. Like, people like sticking Batman in weird stuff. There's one, what if Batman got the Green Lantern ring?
Oh, that's hilarious. Like, it's sort of on the same level of Scooby-Doo in the sense, like, let's put anything in front of Batman and see how that works.
Yeah, but they never do, like, what if Scooby-Doo and the gang went after Jack the Ripper? Or what if Scooby-Doo and the gang took place in the future? Not like that weird Sherlock Holmes cartoon?
I'd actually like to see something like that for Scooby-Doo, honestly.
Scooby-Doo in the future, where he's like a genetically engineered super pooch?
Yeesh.
Actually, that
doesn't that instantly sound like very interesting?
Can we get Scooby-Doo Beyond? That sounds kind of cool, actually. You know what it is? It sounds like a cool one-shot deal where it's like, let's just do this one weird idea, which is Elseworld in a nutshell. In this case, the idea is Batman, Gotham by Gaslight. The idea is that it takes place in the Victorian era. Instead of Bruce Wayne being placed in modern day or the 1940s like he was originally created, in the Victorian era of Gotham City, Bruce Wayne is Batman. He's got a cool Victorian era costume, and it looks really, it's like really old school looking. It looks really cool, and he's going after Jack the Ripper, the most famed serial killer of London, who was a guy who went around like killing whores.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's it. It's Jack the Ripper's out there. He's killing people, and it's up to Batman to stop Jack the Ripper. There's no Joker. There's no Two-Face. None of his villains are in it. And I'm sure for some Batman fans, if you're a Batman fan and you've read this book, you're not going to care. You're probably going to love this. If you're a Batman fan by proxy, where it's like, oh, you like, I love his villains. His villains are so cool. That's why Batman's so great. Batman's got the best rogues gallery. Yeah, you're not going to like this then, because his rogues gallery really isn't in it at all. Like, there's Easter eggs.
Yeah.
But that's it. Like, one of the characters is his friend Harvey Dent, who, when he drinks, he kind of becomes a jerk face. but he never actually turns into Jerkface. I mean, he never actually turns into Two-Face. So,
Batman's greatest villain of all, Jerkface.
It's my arch nemesis, Jerkface.
And he's just flicking his nose like, stop it, Jerkface.
Why is he called Jerkface? Oh, he does things like he goes to hotels and he blows his nose in the middle of a towel and he puts it back. Jerkface. What's wrong with Batman?
I think he just needs a lozenge.
Oh, if it was Jason Amara doing the voice, because Jason Amara has been Batman for a while now. Like, when they did the terrible Batman movies with his crappy son Damian, Jason Amara, by the way, for Damian fans out there, no love for that character. When he died, he should have stayed dead. Much like Jason Todd, Damian's only good contribution to the Batman mythos was being killed. It's just unfortunate that the Joker didn't, like, beat him to death like he beat Jason Todd to death.
Oh, God.
Hey, it's okay. It's okay to make fun of Batman having dead kids under his wing. Teen Titans Go does it. Batman Brave and the Bold did it.
That's fair. That's fair.
And look, if Batman Brave and the Bold acknowledges how freaking funny it is that he's got dead kids, there's a joke in Batman Brave and the Bold with Batmite, where Batmite he took Batman to like his museum, basically his fanboy man cave of like Batman crap, and there's a statue of Batman holding dead Jason Todd in his arms.
Oh my God.
And Batmite goes, "The Death in the Family story, where people got to vote what happened to Jason Todd." And then he leans over to Batman and he goes, "Guess which way I voted?" I'm sitting there, I'm like, did you vote for Batman's adopted son to be viciously beaten to death by one of his greatest villains? Batmite.
What's up with you?
What the hey? What's wrong with you? But
back to Gaslight. Just like, you know, like, I'm not an avid comic book reader as you. Like, I know Batman just from like the cultural zeitgeist and all that. Like,
you know him. You know him by nerd osmosis.
Yeah, basically, yeah, the video games, just the brief cartoons that I've seen. So Batman by Gaslight and the Elseworlds sort of comics, like, I have never like seen before. But as you explained to me as we just like finished the movie, like, this is a different take on what Gaslight was. Like, it's a rewritten story of it. Like, it's
different. It's actually, I don't know if spoil it, because we do have a spoiler warning at the beginning of these videos, but it is different than how the book portrayed who Jack the Ripper is or what his motivation. Actually, the thing is, his motivation was kind of folded into the different approach they ended up doing in this film.
Oh, how about we spoil the one that's in the book and we just leave the one that's in the movie? Because I'll just say my thoughts on the movie sort of villain.
I think it works better to spoil it for the film as opposed to the book, because the book is a bit more clever.
Right. Yeah, well, the movie, it doesn't really have that sort of, like, cohesive sort of mystery to it. Like, the Scooby-Doo mystery that we just saw had a better mystery to it than this one did.
What, the one where it's like, I found Clay? Oh no, because I ended up telling, it wasn't even fully Clayface in the end. There was another secret bad guy behind it all.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. And at least they like put little breadcrumbs to basically say like, oh, that's the real culprit behind the whole thing. Well, in this one, they basically place breadcrumbs to be like Harvey Dent and just the other guy, like basically showing them just like, oh, these two could possibly be Jack the Ripper. Who could guess it?
I'm trying to think. Watching it, they hinted at it being Harvey.
Yeah.
Oh, and Bullock.
Yeah.
That's where they were hinting it at. Like, it must have been Harvey or Bullock, because Harvey, they could have played up the fact that it was a split personality thing. And with Bullock, he clearly had no love lost for the fact that women of ill repute, as they would say, were being murdered. And it's like, oh, that's a setup. And then the person that it ends up being feels like it was written in a meta.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to really spoil it, but it feels like the reveal of who it actually is, it feels like it was being written because it's like, you're a Batman fan, you know how important that character is in actual Batman stories, not an Elseworld story where that doesn't matter.
It's all just be like, oh my god, my fan favorite character, no!
Yeah, and that's what I felt like with the writing. I must admit, though, I'm actually taken back, like, legitimately surprised, and I joked about this with my friend Duke and my friend Theo, where I had said, I bet they're gonna make Jack the Ripper the Joker, because the Joker sells. The Joker makes a lot of money. Like I don't know if we joked about it when we did this.
Our entire watching, it was like, oh, Joker's gonna show up. Joker's gonna show up.
And then he doesn't, and I'm like, oh, this sucks. Joker never showed up. Joker never showed up.
You set yourself up for that disappointment.
Well, the thing is, like, I wanted, like, a cameo at least. Like, I didn't need him to be Jack the Ripper. I didn't need him to be a major role. I think it would have just been fine where, like, Batman goes to the asylum and you see him in a cell. And that's it. Like, they've done that before where some movies are, like, I can't remember which one it was where, because there's been so many damn Batman ones, it's hard to even remember them all by this point.
Yeah.
But there was one where he goes to the asylum and there's a part where he just walks by a door, and I believe it's silhouetted, and you just hear, and you know it's the Joker, and you're like, ah, it's the Joker, so cool, and that's it. Like, I'm a fan of the. I clapped because they acknowledged the clown. Like, yeah, I know it's like, oh, that's just stupid fanboyism, but it's like, yeah, but DC pushes the idea how intrinsically tied Batman and the Joker are to such a degree. They constantly... Dude, one of the stories they did, like, before they did Rebirth, they were trying to make it like, Joker is an immortal god of laughter.
Yeah, I remember you showing me that, and it's just like, that's the most ridiculous overcomplication of a character I ever heard.
He's just a jackass in a purple tux that likes to screw with people for a yuck.
Yeah.
He's nothing special. He's just some idiot who took a chemical bath, and then that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm not upset that he didn't show up, but it's like, I wouldn't have minded an Easter egg of him. I enjoyed the Easter eggs they did. Like, if you look in the background, there's, what was it I freaked out on, and you were like, what? And I'm like, it's old Tommy Cobblepot back in the background. It's like,
hey,
it's like fat.
I recognized him right away, just like, oh, it's Tommy Cobblepot.
And it's like this fat guy with a hooked nose and a monocle and balding, and I'm like, it's old Matt Cobblepot back from the dead he is. And it's like, for like no reason, I was just happy to see old man Oswald Chesterfield Cobblepot, old man Penguin in the background. It's like,
and you also fanboyed about like when Bruce Wayne is inevitably like put in jail because, oh no, maybe he's Jack the Ripper. Like one of the people that he fights was what was it, Grundy, I believe.
Oh, yeah, no, the big guy. Who wants to fight Cyrus Gold? And I'm like, oh my god, that's Solomon Grundy. When he dies, he comes back as a Zom. Because, like, I'm a nerd. So it's like, it's a fun Easter egg. They didn't even need, you know what the thing is? Need to be Cyrus Gold. It could have been anybody. They could have been like, I'm Bane, and I would have been like, oh my god, because in Nightfall, Bane broke his back. I clapped because I'm a nerd.
Yeah, so it's nice from basically a fan perspective, and I feel like most fans would be very happy with this sort of story. Now, I'm just trying to,
it's cute.
Yeah, I'm trying to think like an actual like speaking as like, sort of a non-comic fan and all that, like whether it's just a good movie on its own. I feel that it is. Like the whole world that Batman is in, like the Victorian era, is very interesting. Like as you see in like in all the other like Batman sort of mythos, you see him like with the gadgets and all that sort of stuff. But you don't get that sort of gadgeteering like here. You see Batman just like more fisticuffs and all that, like more punches and such. And you feel a lot of more impact to everything. Impact of every fall, bash, and everything. There's a lot more real sort of finality to this world.
I think because they treat this, unlike other movies, actually there's one I think it's called Court of Owls, where he gets like impaled by I think 2 sais. He falls through a skylight and onto the skeleton of a T-Rex that then collapses on him, and he gets up completely okay. And I remember like me and Duke were like, oh, come on, if you keep pushing the idea that he's just a guy in a costume doing his best to fight crime, you can't have him walk away from stuff like this. You have to show him getting actually injured, otherwise it doesn't work with the realism angle that people keep... Which, by the way, every Batman fan jumps down my throat, where I'm like, Batman's not realistic, Batman's a fantasy character, and people are like, no, Batman's realistic, you don't understand. No. Batman is a fantasy character. He fights clowns. He fights zomzoms. He fights fat guys that call themselves the Penguin and use umbrellas as gadgets of choice.
Yeah, the rich millionaire with a bunch of high-tech gadgets. It's totally realistic.
Yeah, there's nothing realistic about Batman. Even like Chris Nolan, I don't get where people are like, Chris Nolan made Batman realistic. First movie, there's a guy with a burlap bag on his head who calls himself the Scarecrow.
You're just spraying people just like, oh, now you're afraid.
Boogie boogie, I made some kind of fear gas. Now I wear a burlap bag. Wow, this is dumb. This is realistic. No, this is stupid. You have to acknowledge how stupid this actually is, because if you try to be like, this is realistic, dude, people would just kick the crap out of Jonathan Crane. Are you kidding me with this nonsense? Like, even the second one where it's like, it's realistic. Look how real this Joker is. So there's a guy in a purple tux.
Yeah, and he just stabs people. That's about as realistic as anybody else who stabs anybody else.
The most realistic thing's like, he uses a knife. But Joker has been established to use a knife before this movie existed. That isn't new ground. The only thing new about this over like the other versions is instead of falling into like a chemical bath that bleached his skin, he just paints his face.
Yeah.
That's the most realistic it got. And honestly, I preferred if he painted his face instead of having the bleached skin too. I think like the painting face thing kind of looks creepier, especially if like the makeup's running and it's unkempt.
Yeah, that is really cool. That's what I sort of liked about this movie, because that was the creepiest scene, like where all this sweat was just basically making his makeup run, just like, yes, Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just like holding it on like a big laugh in Batman's face.
Yeah, that's the thing where it's like, I think Batman fans are gonna love this. I think if you're a fan of the book, you might dig the different approach. As a person who's read, I would just say I've read all the books these animated films have been based on. I read Death of Superman, I read All-Star Superman, I've read Versus the Elite, I've read them and I know the differences, and I like most of the animated interpretations of these. And in terms of Batman movies, I've grown really cold in the Batman films because, one, I think Jason Momoa is a horrible Batman. he really does sound like he barks his dialogue. It's like there's and the thing is, the funny thing is, and this really like made me laugh, is Jason Momoa for a stint was on Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right, yeah.
And he's able to play the charismatic, charming, like Playboy-esque character and like the face of S.H.I.E.L.D. But then he can also play like the stern leader. And I'm like, man, you'd be good for Batman. And then like, oh, why do you suck as Batman? And I don't know why. I don't know if it's directing. I don't know if it's just the scripts. Because the Batman stories he's in are all terrible.
Yeah.
Damian brings everything down a peg. And in this one, they went back to Bruce Greenwood. Bruce Greenwood played Batman in Under the Red Hood, which is probably one of the more fan-acclaimed of the animated features. It's where it's death in the family. So Jason Todd is beaten to death by the Joker, and he dies, and he comes back as the Red Hood, and he fights Batman. And that's the last time Bruce Greenwood was Batman. It's been said in the community, Bruce Greenwood should really be the official voice for Batman in animation. Like, for a lot of people, it was Kevin Conroy, and Kevin has given us a great run. People have said Bruce Greenwood could easily be the next Kevin Conroy.
Right. Wow.
And, like, the thing is, there isn't too much to talk about because it's Jack the Ripper. It's Batman's like, oh, well, there's this guy going around, he's killing people, I have to solve who it is. And it's just set in Victorian London.
Yeah.
So, and the thing about this, and you brought this up because you're like, it feels a little bit, for you know, with the exception of the fact that it is, you know, it's a guy in a bat costume, it feels real. I think because the way this is written, it's like a Victorian story, or not a Victorian story, but it's like a pulp action hero. It's like The Shadow or Zorro or Lobster Johnson, where the idea is like it's a pulp action hero. He has to go out there and through sheer grit and wit, he has to fight his way through any bad things he sees. It's none of the stuff of Batman where people keep telling me like, those Arkham games are realistic. He fights a dude made of clay. He fights a big old crocodile man that's like 15 feet tall.
Yeah, and there's that scene where Joker becomes a huge juggernaut with his like bones like piercing through his skin.
There's a really stupid scene in the first game where the Joker gets a green mohawk and his pants ripped to be little Hulk trunks. Yeah. And he turns into the Joker Hulk, Jolk I'll call it. He turns into the laughing Jolk, and then he's like, I'm gonna beat up the Batman. And you're like, yeah, this is so realistic and grounded. Yeah. I can't believe how realistic this is. Holy crap, Batman. You're so much like real life. I can relate to you on every possible level.
Yeah, I just like it for being a good Batman game. I don't care if it's not realistic.
No, that's the thing. I don't like it when Batman's realistic. Batman being realistic sucks. Batman being realistic is boring. Like, oh, let's do realistic. Okay, if Batman's realistic, day one, dead. First night out, dies. That's realistic Batman.
He gets stabbed one time in the kidney and just dies of blood loss.
Well, actually, in Batman Year One, when he was posing as a bum, as I think Matches Malone is the identity he used, a whore stabbed him.
Very nice.
So, but he lived.
Yeah.
The thing is about Batman is there are two kinds of fans. There are the fans who believe I can be Batman, which means you're living the power fantasy of what Batman is. It's not because he's realistic. It's because it's like, I could be like Batman. I could screw multiple women and use them as a beard and have no responsibility to a relationship. I can endanger countless children without the responsibility of actually putting kids in mortal danger.
Yeah.
Or there's people like me, where it's Batman Brave and the Bold, where this is Batman. He's a gadgeteer. He takes himself a bit too seriously, and it's funny because he lives in a world of colorful costumed characters like Superman and Wonder Woman, and he fights clowns that like to make jokes, or the fact that he fights, guys made of mud or men clad in question marks.
And he's just a stick in the mud that's dressed in a cape.
He's kind of like a comical grump. There's a really funny run on Grant Morrison's run of Justice League where he writes Batman as a comical straight man to all the wild DC Universe antics that happen around him. And there's just 1 minute where the Green Lantern, I think, is talking to Flash, and he goes, I don't see what would be the point of needing to know how to hold your breath. And Batman just walks in and he goes, 4 minutes, 30 seconds, you'd be surprised how important that is. And he just leaves the room.
Yeah.
And he just leaves the room, and you're like, what?
What would that be important for, Batman?
Because it's happened to him.
Yeah.
He fights Killer Croc.
That is
So if he
true.
ends up underwater, he needs to know how long he can hold his breath.
Yeah.
Okay, how long underwater can I stand before I actually start suffocating? 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Okay, that means I have to take down Killer Croc in under 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, playing Batman up as comically over-prepared is fine, but when people oh, he has all these plans to kill the Justice League, that's not fun. That's a psychopath.
Yeah.
That's not Batman. That's not a hero.
Yeah, that might be like me just playing on a file, just this time I'm going to kill all my friends. But only if it comes to that.
That file you have of, this is how I'll take care of NERO and inherit Watchin stuff all for myself. It just says, give him a big greasy burger. And then I got him. I'll get him in the long game by feeding him delicious fatty foods.
It's the perfect plan.
Eventually, today I was
but yeah, Gotham by Gaslight. What would you rate this, Nero?
I think this is a must-see. I think if you're a Batman fan, you'll love it. If you're just a fan of the DC animated films, I think you'll enjoy it. It's a little something for everybody. I've always been under the belief that while I enjoy a lighter incarnation of Batman, much like Batmite said in Batman Brave and the Bold, the character can be imagined in any number of ways.
Yeah.
And, there's no technical wrong way to do Batman. I might hate the Zack Snyder one, and by might, I mean I most certainly hate the Zack Snyder one and think he's a piece of crap director and filmmaker. But, you know what? That's his interpretation. He wants Batman to be a mass-murdering psychopath. That's fine. That's how you want Batman to be.
Being a mass-murdering psychopath, Zach. You just go and do you.
Yeah, you do you. I like my Batman to be quirky and funny, and even though this is a darker incarnation of Batman, I dug it too because I already got a good Brave and the Bold Scooby-Doo crossover film with Batman. I got a lighthearted Batman film just a couple of weeks ago, and we reviewed it.
So why not have just one that's more finality, just more tough and gritty and such?
Yeah, I love that people keep throwing that term around, oh, it's grim and gritty. You keep using those words. I don't think it means what you think it means. It's a serious Batman movie. It's treated dramatically. It's treated okay, if Jack the Ripper, which I guess in a way, Jack the Ripper kind of is like a supervillain. He wore a costume and he went out and he hurt people.
And he had
It's
his
a supervillain.
secret weapon, a knife.
Actually, there is a Batman villain called Mr. Zaz, whose
Right,
whole gimmick
and
is
he cuts
he
himself
kills
all
people.
over for each villain. I mean, for each
Yeah.
victim of his.
Yeah, and then he cuts a... Yeah, that's like a stupid, overly dark Batman villain where it's like, look at this awesome Batman villain. That's not cool. Like, the Joker does, like, playing cards and, like, laughing gas guns and, like, acid flowers in the lapel. And Mr. Freeze has, like, a cool cold gun. What does this guy do? He kills people with a knife. Wow, that sucks.
And he
That's so-
cuts himself for every victim he ever did.
Wow, what a pussy.
Yeah,
At least the Joker's quirky.
he's just super edgy. But
Yeah, he's a wannabe edgelord. What about you? You're not a comic book reader.
Yeah.
Where do you stand in this in terms of animated films?
Yeah, I feel that it would be good for like most like Batman fans and all that sort of stuff. It's just that like my personal love for it just doesn't reach the must-see sort of category. So I would just have to give it a good watch. But definitely
That's fine.
it would be good for like anybody. It's still like a really fun movie. Like I do want to just mention this one nitpick because I just felt that it was funny for us to keep always pointing it out. It's just like the fire effects and the CGI models just everywhere. Warner Brothers is like famous for this in their recent like direct-to-DVD movies now.
Oh, it's not limited. It's not limited to direct to DVD. Not Man of Steel. In Justice League, where their special effects are god awful, by the way, the green screening is just abysmal. In Justice League, because Henry Cavill, the actor who was portraying Murder Man,
Right, I
Superman,
remember.
he had a mustache, so instead of having him shave it off or actually just adding a beard to blend the mustache in with the fake beard, they decided to CGI his upper lip, and it cost like $3 million, and it looks abysmal. WB as a whole has a horrible special effects division, and I'm sorry that this is going to sound horrible, but all you special effects guys in that division should be fired. You're all terrible at your jobs. I watched it. Pennywise is ruined in like 5 minutes when he does the derp face when he bites Georgie's arm. It looks really bad. Matter of fact, you know what? You better throw up the image of a herpaderp. Herpaderp. There it is, herpaderp Pennywise. Like, look, like, isn't this scary? No! That looks stupid. He's got like the weird eye, like a chameleon. Oh, this kid's arm is so good. It's exploding with flavor.
But yeah, we're just like the effects in this one. Yeah, we have like the Zeppelins going around all CGI like, but I really wanted to mention sort of like the fire effects in this. It's just basically not that traditional like After Effects sort of fire particle effects, and it's just like instantly like that, just placed everywhere. And then when you have like, I'll spoil this, like Jack the Ripper burns up in the end, and how he burns up is just basically like. Just the effect just goes like whoosh over his body, going oh.
You know what he looks like?
What?
I know you're not. I know you're not a big Star Trek fan. He totally looks like they're getting ready to beam him up on the Enterprise.
No, yeah, I can
like
totally see that. Like,
yeah, like they took like the lighting effect of how the body glitters with like the Enterprise teleporter, but then they were like, you know, if you turn up the orange and the yellow, I guess it looks like he's burning. And it's like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't remotely look like he's burning. It looks like he's being beamed up to the
yeah, it's just like
Starship Enterprise.
if I took the pen tool and just wrapped around his body entirely and just like did the slide transition. It's just like so cheaply done, and it just sort of like undermines sort of the climax of the movie a tad, because just basically all the characters are just around like, oh my god, all this fire around us.
Also, this film is supposed to boast that it's R-rated.
It is.
I know, right? You watch and you're like, well, there's blood, but I mean,
I've seen like stuff with blood in it, and it wasn't R-rated.
maybe because the blood in this is excessive. Like they're like when a whore dies, they're like laying in a puddle of it. Because it's like I don't remember any real swearing.
Yeah.
Like they never dropped like an F-bomb or anything.
Yeah, I don't really remember anything like that. I guess it's just like the puddles of blood, which basically just sort of like capitalizes that like the people who grade these sort of movies just don't really care about the context. Just like a puddle of blood, R-rated.
Yeah, it's
just dumb.
So I mean, it's the second R-rated Batman film. The first one was Killing Joke, which also felt like it it really didn't feel like it was that rated R.
Yes. No, at least the scenes where it was like the hyper like violence and all that was a little bit over the top.
I don't know if you
And
rewatch that
also
film.
the rapes they scene in that.
He didn't rape her though. I mean, maybe in Brian Azzarello's mind because he's a piece of crap writer that only knows how to do generic shock value. But like even what's his name? Oh God, his name's Bruce Timm is like. He didn't rape her. Even Alan Moore, who wrote that crap story, who openly like acknowledges it. Oh, it's a bunch of books. It's a crap story. Even he's like, he didn't rape her. Just took a bunch of pictures because the Joker's is like an idiot. It's a bunch of bollocks. That's how it works.
So I guess it probably just was just rated R because the book had the rape in it and just not the movie.
Yeah, well, no, the book didn't have rape in it. Like people like to assume it's rape because the Joker isn't cool or edgy unless he does something as horrible as rape. Even though the whole thing about the Joker is he thinks he's funny and he tries to do things that he thinks is funny. That's why he's like a demented comedian.
Yeah, so he doesn't find rape funny.
Actually, in the comics, there was a story where he was put in a room and he's left alone in the room. He's talking to the people. And he's like, "Hey, so what's your deal?" "Oh, well, I'm a neo-Nazi." And when like the bad guys come back, all the neo-Nazis are dead.
Yeah.
And they're like, "What the hell happened?" And the Joker looks at the bad guy and he goes, "Nazis aren't funny." And he just killed them all.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just a demented comedian, and he works like that.
Like, the whole point to him killing people is, like, it's got to be a punchline. Otherwise, it's just boring murder. And if you want to waste that, use Zsasz. No one cares about Zsasz.
Yeah, he's already the boring murderer.
Yeah, he's like a fart. He's like the fart of Batman villains. Just, there's Zsasz! That's it. Anyways, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, hit that notification bell. That's always important to get updates. You can support us through Patreon or TeePublic, where you can pick up all sorts of cool shirts and stuff we designed. If you guys have any pitches for shirts ideas too, let us know. Actually, I'm all for like the idea of audience participation. That always makes me smile.
Yeah, we're
And
always
of
up
course
for like
we got,
making like new like shirts and all that. Like we already got like a whole bunch of like really cool ones.
And as always, be sure to support us through, you can also support us through T-Blocks. If I understand, it's a one-stop shop for all sorts of cool, like, pop cultural shirts, stuff like you get from Comic-Con shirts and stuff like that.
Yep.
And you have to use, was it T-Blocks?
Nope, ToonGrin TBX.
ToonGrin TBX.
You gotta put that at the checkout and you get 10% off your purchase of any box you want.
You get all sorts of cool stuff, man. Be sure to check that out. Links in the description below. And as always, people, be sure to tune in
to ToonGrin.
Oh, look! It's Victor Zsasz! How you doing, Zsasz? I cut people. God, you're so lame. That's not fair. I'm cool. No, you're really not.
Oh, God.
That's why in the video games you get beaten by, like, one batarang to the head.
Oh, that was fun to hit him with that batarang.